sing a few little choruses, songs here, and some of you know these little songs. I think we've sung them before, but we're gonna have the guys play some instruments, kind of help us a little bit with it.
Do you want them up there?
Sure, let's have them up here. You bet. We'll probably play a few instruments, one song, we'll have to trade off a little bit. We'll try to get them all in there so they can all play a little bit off. Stand up, guys.
Stand up. You don't sit. Come, just sit.
There you go.
Let's leave some for the bigger kids over there.
Good
too.
looking group of guys out here.
Please come here.
Cool.
All right, guys. Let's get some of the bigger kids.
Little song here, we've sung since we were fall. Hallelujah, praise ye the Lord, gloria a Dios. That's what we're going to sing in Spanish, though. One more time. Good job, kiddo. Give Thank you so much for coming up and helping me. Appreciate it a lot. Helped a lot. Thank you so much. Love to see you up there. Thank you. Is she going to win next week? Yes. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Hey, it's great to be up and be able to share with you all a little bit what's going on. Been kind of exciting this last year. I never imagined that we'd ever be going to Cuba. And we're spending time now. We've really got some direction there. We think the Lord is opening up doors. I want to tell you about that, though. Have you heard about the coronavirus? From China? Well, we have something like that in Mexico, but they bottle it called Corona. And it's a disease. I'm not sure what it is. It's no good. And also, we had the bird flu. The bird flu came into Mexico. Did you know how we got rid of it? We used tweetment. Well, we had swine flu come too. We used ointment on it. You know, we can get rid of these things, whatever comes in. And I tell you, the medical teams are very, very special, and I know Linda and some of them have been down there with us and worked with those. That opens up a lot of doors to a lot of people's lives when we can go in there. Do you remember our baseball team? You know, I do want to get serious here, but you remember our El Paso Chihuahuas? Ooh, they're actually pretty good. They have won the Pacific Western Division the last 3 years. They're really good. Now, have I showed you my new team? Oh, maybe. Well, let me give you a story real quick. There were terrible floods, and some of the guys may have been down when there were terrible floods. The Rio Grande was clear across. You could not travel. Mark and some Al and some Dennis, you couldn't get across the border from Juarez to El Paso. It was flooded into downtown. Well, there was a man at the church right out of the Napa, right across from Napa, that he had made barricades out of spare old tires. You know how they do that? They put tires and they fill it full of sand, and they put tires and he made that whole thing washed down up against his house. Well, we were working on the church at Napa, and I kept looking. I said, we got to do something. We got to do something. So we took a whole day and we dug those tires and that sand out. Had to get all the sand out and restack all those tires. Well, we got it done in one day. The next day, this guy brings me this sweatshirt. I actually had a hat on that was the soccer team that is in Guadalajara. Cheve's a soccer team, and I kind of like their emblem, and I play a little soccer and watch a little soccer. So I had this hat on. Well, he brought me this shirt. The problem is they are sponsored by a bread company that it might fit. I don't know. But does that fit? I hope not. I hope. Have you heard of Bimbo bread? Bimbo, it's around here. But anyway, I would like to wear it, but I don't know. I haven't know to wear that very much down there. Scriptures in Matthew 25, Jesus said to the followers, he said, hey, when I was in the hospital, you came to visit me. When I was hungry, you brought me food. When I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. When I was alone, you come and visited me. And they said, Lord, when did we see you in the hospital or hungry or thirsty or needing something? He said, when you do it to the least of these, you did it to me. Then he looked at another group and he said, hey, you guys didn't come visit me. I was in the hospital. You didn't come visit me. I was thirsty. You wouldn't even give me a drink of water. And in Cuba, we got pretty thirsty. We couldn't even buy water. The Americans couldn't buy water. I was hungry. Didn't bring me any food. When I was alone, you didn't come see me, reach out to me, visit me. And they'll say, Lord, when did we see you hungry? When we see you thirsty? When we see you in need? He said, when you looked around and saw ones around you, and you did nothing for them, you were doing that to me. What is the Lord trying to tell us in those verses? You know, I think it's very, very serious on his mind that we're aware and open to people around us and what's going on around us there. I mentioned in the Bible school hour that we had a load of pews, and I don't know if any of you had gone to the family retreat at Hidden Haven over Labor Day, but my pews, 27 of them, 20 foot long, arrived in a semi there, and they got taken apart and put on a trailer, and they were taken down to the border. That's something we've been kind of working on all last year. And you know what semis get gas mileage? I found out about 7 miles a gallon. By diesel, you know what diesel is, $3. You can kind of figure up how many miles and what things cost, even on that, but we got that done. Water filters that we took to Puerto Rico 2 years ago for the Hurricane Maria. Matter of fact, I mentioned in Bible school, I had got in like at 1 or 2 in the morning here, was here for Sunday morning services. Those water filters are being used again because they've got an earthquake that just happened in the last 2 weeks. And terrible things. The school that I had worked with there is cracked, they say, but they started the classes. They started classes a week ago last Monday. 4 houses across the street fell in, but they have water, pure water, because we have those filters. I even brought one because they had those filter systems, and they had food, so they were able to carry on there. I didn't know how much that I could do to help them, but anyway, they were able to be used again. And you guys are a part of that. You guys have supported us and helped us forever and ever. And you're a part of all that. You know, pews for a new church, water filters for people that don't have fresh water. And I've mentioned this before. It don't take long to figure out you're in trouble. If you're thirsty, it's hot, go a couple hours. Go a half a day. It don't take you long to figure out you got a problem. You're thirsty. You're needing water. And just supply some kind of water to those folks was a real blessing to them. I had some baseballs. Took to Cuba. They love baseball. They love soccer too. They love baseball. They'd never seen a new baseball. Theirs are all taped up, duct tape and black tape. Just have new baseballs for them down there. How many pairs of shoes do you have at your house? SAE, Spanish American Evangelism in El Paso, had been working with people in Cuba for about 8 years. And one of the stories they tell me is two ladies, neighbors, had 1 pair of shoes, and they traded off going to church every other Sunday with the pair of shoes. Susie, y'all know, some of you know Susie Burciaga. She sent them shoes, but they never got there. Never heard that they got there. The last service we were in, we had some decisions. We had some baptisms there in Cuba. We worked. The churches are in houses, in alleyways. They set up chairs in garages. This was in a garage. And there'll be a few slides in just a minute. I'll show you that service. Had baptisms there, had some water, and we had baptisms. But the minister gets up and he says something along the line, and I catch a little Spanish. I can do a little Spanish. He said, my brother has made it to the promised land. And I nudged my friend Jonathan from El Paso. I said, did he die? No. He made it to Texas. The currents go a certain way that you can float across and get to Texas. And I mean, they were serious as a heart attack. Praise the Lord, he got out of here. Bondage, held down. You know, everybody makes the same amount of money pretty much. Why should I work hard? I make the same as he, and he don't work. You know, this kind of thing. Bondage, dictatorship. Fidel Castro, his brother Raul, and then the newest guy there. Brother made it to the promised land. Well, you know, knowing me, I spoke about 3 weeks after that. Well, I spoke that night after the minister had talked about, and I said, you know, mi casa, Ciudad, Joplin, Missouri, United States. My house is in Joplin, Missouri, and I said, Missouri is kind of like the promised land, Texas. They didn't know Missouri. They know Texas and Florida, but they didn't know Missouri. That went over like a lead balloon. Well, I asked the people in the service in El Paso a few weeks later, I said, is Texas the promised land? Oh, yeah. I guess they think it is. Well, anyway, that's kind of a joke. But they were serious about it in Cuba, that they were glad the brother got out of there and got over it. Let me show you a few slides here down in Cuba. Old buildings, not much paint on them. You can go on to the next slide. You can go on to the next slide. This is church. That's where my friend Yosbel and his wife Tamara, that's where they have church every Sunday. And one night during the week, they set up chairs there, and that's just common. They're everywhere, these little churches. Okay. Witness cards that we have down there. The printing presses that we have in El Paso print these out. I'm going to tell you just a couple more things about the printing press and how we hope to get it there. But we're hoping to put a printing press. We can't send stuff because tariff and customs are so high. We can't take it with us. We thought we'd take it in suitcases. We got 10,000 Spanish Bibles in El Paso right now. 10,000 Bibles. And you can't take them in because they're an atheist, socialist, communist country. They'll throw you in jail. And we got inspected a lot on what was going on. Another one of our peace of God. But we have these witness cards. Now, here in the States may not go so good, but down there they have nothing. They have no witness cards of incomparable Christ. They have nothing. And so anything that can be brought to them, they're screaming for printed material. This is a good one. That's an actual train track, if you can believe it. Which church should I choose? Thought that was pretty good. Some of the things coming out of the printing presses in El Paso. Doing a wonderful job. These are wonderful things. Wonderful picture that this is in Yosbel and Tamara's house in Havana. And I took a picture of that picture. Riding the buses, I mentioned this morning in Bible school about riding the buses and being cramped. And this isn't as packed as a lot of them. I mean, I've been so packed you couldn't shut the door behind you without squeezing in, and this kind of thing. So it's just common life for them. They have very, very little, kind of a unique picture here that I just shot. I thought that was neat, a bird and a little gal there. This is my friends, Yosbel, Tamara, and their 2 children. Key man that said he would take care of us while we were there, because Americans can buy nothing. You can't buy water. You can't buy anything. And so this family took care of us there. Capitol building. This is the Capitol building that looks kind of like our Capitol building down there. Let me show you a couple more slides here if I can. This is the wagons that we used part of the time when we were down there, just to give you an idea of what goes on. Maybe another picture. Yeah. This guy here, they can take off slow. Because riding back, when we came back, it was okay. This guy whips that horse, and I about fell out of the back. I'm trying to hold it, and it's rough as all get out. Just common. This is across from Ronaldo. He lives down by Guantanamo Bay. Another one of the ministers that we work with. Another one of the churches. Kind of a makeshift church that they had built there anyway. Little inside that little congregation. Thousands of them. There hasn't been a church built since 1959 when Fidel took over. He said, no more. This is what you see all over. This is what the pictures are. Fidel, Raul, and the new guy saying, oh yeah, this is the way to live. Pay into the storehouse. We'll take care of you. But they don't take care of them. When they get their money and then they run short on money, guess what? All the benefits cut back too. Communists, socialists. Garlics, onions, hanging on the thing on the street there. Pictures of a couple of the kiddos. Baptisms that night in that final church service that we were there. Number of people making decisions. Red beans and rice, and maybe a little pork. You don't eat beef. Against the law to eat beef. They trade beef to Brazil and Venezuela for fruits and vegetables. So if you're caught with beef, you're in trouble. Milk also. No milk. You may have milk for the first couple months with the baby. After that, you cannot have it. It is sold, it is traded to those other countries. Beef are everywhere. Cows are everywhere. There's cows up and down the streets. Up and down the fields, all everywhere. But you can't have them. This is my friend. Wonderful singer, wonderful minister, wonderful evangelist, wonderful communicator. He had their attention sharing in all of our services. This is that last service. We were supposed to have 11 people, is what the government said. Just have 11 people. Well, we had about 70 in that one. And singing to the top of their lungs. I was expecting to see police or somebody come, because we've been stopped by the police, and we've been talked to from other guys also. That just kind of gives you an idea. Let me take you to the new church in El Paso. This is the entrance. We were finishing it up in November, October. In the last few months, I can't remember when this was, but we were putting up a little drywall, finishing it up for the entrance, doing well. Opened the church about 1.5 years ago. So this is back in East El Paso, where this church is. That's my grandson and my son-in-law. You guys go up on top. Dennis, you guys go up on top. Look at the lights when we were down there. And Mark, 2 million lights. 2 million people. And you can go up on the mountain and kind of look. That's kind of what that is there. The violence at Walmart, they closed that Walmart down. I didn't think they'd reopen it, but it's reopened now. They took all the signs down, blackened it, darkened it down, took all the lights, and they've reopened that Walmart again there. Finishing up. Yeah, just go ahead and run a couple more there. Church services in our new church. Oh, shrink wrapping some of the materials from SAE, Spanish American, doing a little shrink wrapping there. We already have a folder. These folders? We already have a folder to send to Cuba. We need a shear. We're looking for a shear. And then we're going to eventually try to figure out what we're going to do for a printing press also. That's the printing press. You see how big it is, how long it is. They're not too expensive. A neighborhood of 5,000 or 6,000 used. I think they're like 20,000 new or something like that. But they're around, and they have a lot of life in them. It's what they tell me. I don't know a lot about it, but Jonathan does know a lot of this kind of thing. That's the outside of the new church there in El Paso. Just finished painting the outside and trimming it out. Kind of a beige with a gray trim. So anyway, just had a women's retreat once again. It went well with the people there, and things are going good with our churches in El Paso there. I am at a funeral about the 1st of June, and I run into an old friend I haven't seen in 10 years. And he says, Scott, how you doing? Great. What are you doing right now? I said, well, we're getting ready to go to Cuba. Really? He says, I have been there about 5 years ago when it was kind of opened up, when Obama kind of opened it up, and June 11th is when kind of Trump threw the brakes on everything. He said, you got your contacts, where you're going to stay and all that? No. He said, you can't go in there and find a place to stay. They won't sell you anything because it's against the law to sell anything to Americans. Water, bottle. We went 2 days with a small amount of water, Jonathan and I, and we finally got Yosbel. He went and bought us 1 liters of water, and we were getting kind of dry on water. But they won't sell you anything. So he said, I've got a contact, and that's who he got us in touch with Yosbel and Tamara. Well, they met us at the airport. I think I've worked in Dominican, I've worked in Haiti many times, Puerto Rico, all over Mexico. I've worked a lot of places. I've had 50 to 60 medical teams, different places. Lots of things I've been, but this is different. This is different. They don't reach out to Americans at all. Where Mexico, they're glad to see you, and Haiti and Puerto Rico, these places, they're glad to see you. No, they're scared to reach out to you and to help you. And so we would have been stuck. So the Lord got me in contact with these people. A week and a half before we're supposed to leave, we get a note that says, hey, can you come to Port Padres? Well, that's down by Guantanamo Bay, once again. This Ronaldo and Lydia and Ezekiel is the family that are down there. And we said, well, can you come to us in Havana, 450 miles? Well, horse and wagons. That's where those horse and buggies, those wagons are. No. Can you come halfway? No. So we got on a bus. They got us on a bus and sent us down there. Well, we met a man that had 63 home churches. 63 home churches. And screaming for any kind of materials. They have nothing. At El Paso right now are 21 boxes addressed to 21 different places in Cuba. Can't afford to do it. And they were going to be, I didn't say this in Bible school, they were going to be sent out of Mexico. They won't do anything with America, but we could take them across the border, and that's kind of cool. When you walk up to the guy and say, I want these boxes, where are they going? And then they say, put them in boxcar 12. And you go out on the line, and you start walking until you find boxcar 12, and you load them yourself. It's kind of crazy. It's just a crazy world. It's a crazy world. Well, those boxes are not going. We can't afford to send them. We didn't take very many materials with us, just a few little materials with us. But it's come up since then that maybe we could put a printing press in Cuba. This is something that Jonathan in El Paso came up with. Well, okay, how do we do that? And he started telling me about what it cost. He said, I think if we get it there, probably could afford maybe 10,000 copies a month, ink and paper. Okay, I'm game. And that's great. Let's do it. About a month ago, I get a call from a guy I've never met before. The Lord just keeps opening doors. He said, my name is Lucas Hardley. I said, do I know you? No, we've never met, but I saw one of your newsletters and something about you want to put a printing press in Cuba. Yeah, we're trying to raise some money and do that. He said, I work with cargo ship containers that go different places in the world, and I have 3 going to Cuba right now, sitting on a dock in Galveston, Texas. He said, there's probably not room in those, but we're putting another one together. What time frame do you have on this? Well, he asked me. Well, I got him in touch with Jonathan on the border. I don't know. But the Lord just keeps opening doors and saying, continue on, continue on. And we're excited about that. We think it's going to happen. We think that we're going to be able to put a printer. Now, put a printing press there. Yoels Bell will be a printer. He will own a business, and we will print. Some of the printing will be biblical Bible tracts, maybe not complete Bibles, but I think we need maybe put Bibles in the container, but they really frown on lots and lots of Bible literature. And it's not, I don't think the people we talk to, the policemen, the people, I don't think they were against it, but that's what they're supposed to do. That's their job, is to say, oh, no Christianity. Not a new church in 60 years. Our thought is, how high to the top can we get? How can we get to that top man, that top of the leaders of the country? It seems like there's a little change that they're starting to talk about opening some of the old buildings. And I understand they're starting to paint them and clean them up. Thinking that maybe the leadership now is a little more open to spiritual things. Wow, is this all timing? Is this, I don't know. But we're excited about it, and we're ready to move on and go on and continue with it. Could we get to the leadership that would take the bondages off the people, that they could have their own business, they could have their own livelihood, pursuit of happiness, some way, instead of just being bound. And when you talk to them about it, they just look at the ground. Every one of them. They just know they're just being held and held down. Well, we don't know. Be praying about that. Be praying about a printing press, that maybe we can get more literature out and share the gospel with more people. Those witness cards and Bibles and whatever we can get printed. 14 provinces, 14 states are there. And we hope we can get, 10,000 a month is what we're shooting at. I think Jonathan even has in mind to do more than that, of literature. So you be praying that possibly something will open up on all of that. But we think it's God's will that this is going to happen. This is going to happen. And let me share just a few more thoughts with you. There's been 110 generations since Jesus walked on the face of the earth. Have you ever thought about that? 110 generations of mom and dad having their children, those children growing up having their children. That's about 100, not many generations, about 110. I believe in the thought that the way our homes go is the way our country goes. Moms, mothers, grandmas, you have a big part of that. The touching, the guidance, the nurturing, the direction of our children. It's a big job. It's probably the hardest job there is directing 24 hours a day for many, many years our children in the way that they should go. But I believe the way our homes go is the way our country will go. I noticed down on your women's restroom, you've got this emblem of a lady. It looks like that's a dress or a skirt she has on. It's not. It's a cape. It's a super lady. Moms, grandmas, you're super people. You're superheroes to save our country. I believe that. And that isn't really where I'm going, but I just want to, next time you see that, you think, that's a cape. That's not a dress. Superheroes there. 110 generations. You think back to the Roman Empire, a couple thousand years ago, all that went on there, they probably were 500 years old. Something like that. The Crusades, remember the Crusades? We sent people to other lands in Europe and said, you will believe or we'll just kill you. That's a crusade, I guess. American Revolution, a lot of that, Paul Revere, Minutemen, slavery, Civil War, all those things that went on during those times, brother against brother. I still wrestle with that. I don't understand. You were so into what you thought was right that you'll kill the guy that lives on the other side of your town because he's got the wrong uniform on. I don't understand that. Maybe I just, I don't understand that. Have you heard of anybody like Carnegie, Rockefeller, Morgan Stanley, Charles Schwab, William James Bryan, Steel, oil, electric tycoons, train tycoons? These guys, that was a generation when they lived. We think about World War II. You know, you think about Hitler, I think about Stalin, think about Mussolini. What if they had known a church like this? What if they had had a preacher like James? And somebody like Carl and all the youth staff to work with the kiddos that showed, love for them and showed God's love. Would we have had World War II? I don't know. But I think about those things. God's love that comes from you and all the people and the wonderful new facility you've got is just wonderful. Fantastic. I can just see it full of kiddos, and it's going to be wonderful. If those leaders were so ruthless, could they have ever been touched and changed by somebody reaching out to them, a minister, a Sunday school teacher, somebody touching their lives? But it didn't happen. Segregation. You cannot drink at this fountain. You drink at that fountain over there. Are we crazy? Are we crazy or not? You ride in the front of the bus because you can't ride in the back. The devil has a way of just pulling things into our lives. And the scriptures say black will be white and white will be black. Opposite of what you think, what logic is. What logic is. Abortion. 60 million babies. Families. Questions. Decisions to be made. We all have those. You think your kids get grown and you don't have decisions and direction? No, they still come back. And they want to know something. And I appreciate that my son will call me on something. What do you think about this, Dad? He's 36. So I appreciate him saying things. Well, certain things they had to deal with. One thing they had to deal with was what we had to deal with in Cuba. Water. Every one of these generations had the same situation. How are we going to get fresh water? We got to have water. Well, they built the cities around rivers and around streams, but that was one thing. The Romans brought water 55 miles on aqueducts. They had to have water. Another thing they can think of, and Dennis and I like that, food. Yeah. What are we going to do for food? Well, in Roman days, I guess they were killing animals in Africa and bringing them back across the Mediterranean like gangbusters. Ships full of animals, trying to feed their people. And grain and crops, I'm sure they had those also there. You get on up into Revolutionary War, Civil War. What kind of restaurant? What kind of outhouses did they use? Have you ever used an outhouse? You ever used one? Yeah. Well, Cuba, Haiti, Dominican, a lot of these countries still, and Mexico too. They still use those things. So food, water, and sewage you had to take care of some way. If you're going to live and raise your family, you got to take care of them situations. Now, the Revolutionary War, you go out and kill a squirrel or anybody ever ate squirrel? Ate squirrel? I have to. Rabbit, catch fish. Some of you had to feed your family. Every one of them generations had to figure that out some way. Well, there was more important things they had to figure out. Where'd I come from? Why am I here? Where am I going? And they all ask themselves that. Where did I come from? And what's the reason? And people ask that today. Why am I here? Why am I here living this generation now? What generation? What? 70 years, 80? A lifespan. And I know Terrible. What was his name? Terrible. They always said he was terrible. Yeah, he lived 91, didn't he? Yeah, he may live lots of years. But we ask ourselves that, and where are we going? Well, John 14 says, in my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. If I go to prepare a place for you, I'll come again and receive you unto myself, so that where I am, you may be also. And Thomas said, Lord, where are you going? He said, there's no other way to get to the Father but through me. I am the way, the truth, and the life. This old world will say, there's lots of ways to give your life to. You can give your life into things that can be held and owned, and that can be your life. You can give your life this direction to job, profession. There's lots of things that they'll say is a way to go. There's only one way to the Father. Jesus is that way. The truth. Oh, boy. Do we hear anything like fake news? Do you ever hear that term? 10 times a day? Oh, that's just fake. Oh, that's just fake. Oh, my goodness. Third graders get along better than you know who I'm talking about. The truth is found in the Word. When we walk with Jesus and follow His guidance and direction, that's truth. That's the truth we stand on. Life, everybody's looking for that quality of life. America is about 7% of the world's population. Now, I'm not going to preach on that. So over 90% of the world lives on a bowl of rice a day. I don't know. I have no agenda on these things. I really don't. We're truly blessed. We're truly blessed, and I hope we're thankful for all that we have in America. Because the majority of people don't have much in this old world that we live on, this globe we live on. Life. Well, we may not have everything we want. We may not have everything we think we should have. But we can still have a quality of life by knowing Him. By putting Him first in our lives. Buried with Him in the likeness of His death. Raised to walk in newness of life. Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they laid Him in the tomb? Were you there when they laid Him in the tomb? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they laid Him in the tomb? Were you there when He rolled away the stone? Were you there when He rolled away the stone? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when He rolled away the stone? Were you there when He rose up from the dead? Were you there when He rose up from the dead? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when He rose up from the dead? That's the message we share. Wherever we go, that's the message we share. We don't want to get off on tangents. We don't want to be drawn in different ways as I feel sometimes people can be in America or Cuba or Haiti or wherever the ministry is, that we can be drawn in different. We want to share that message. There's only one way. He's the way, He's the truth, He's the life. I pray that's for you today also. Dear Father in heaven, we thank You so much for this time to be in Your house, and what a wonderful group of people. I love this congregation. I love these people. And what witness they have been here, and many, many families and children and moms and dads are going to be a witness to in the days and weeks and months to come. And the new facility, I know they're just praying over that it's going to be used as a tool to reach out and to help touch lives. Thank You for everyone here. If we're not sure where we stand on that way, the truth, and the life, help us to determine it today. We love You. We thank You. Thank You for letting us be a part of Your family and to be Your ambassadors, to be Your workmen, to reach out to the lost. In Jesus' name, amen.
Would you stand? And maybe today you have a decision that you would like to make, and maybe that's just talking to myself or Carl or one of the elders, or maybe someone you know that is a follower of Christ, and just what does it mean? What does this following Jesus look like? And we want to have those conversations with you. And maybe today, and listen, and I know it's very easy for us to get distracted by a lot of things. And, you know, every time I think about it and the times that I've had, the opportunities I've had to be overseas, and I've been blessed in that. I've gotten to see different aspects of it. But, you know, 90% of the world living on a bowl of rice a day. Let that sink in for a second. And think about the things that we worry about. And I would just love to challenge you to think about people, and he talked a lot about water. Scott talked a lot about water. And we thirst for so much. And we are drawing from wells that are going to leave us thirsty and thirsty and thirsty, whether it's your job, your bank account,